Okay, let's jump straight in. We're doing a deep dive today into, well, the Formula One pressure cooker.
hmm
Specifically, everything swirling around Lewis Hamilton, his upcoming Ferrari move, and particularly what happened after Monaco.
Yeah, we've been looking at this F1 blog piece that really gets into his performance lately, some struggles it talks about, and crucially, those radio messages that got everyone talking.
Right. So our mission here is basically to unpack what this blog is reporting,
Yeah.
understand the tensions it describes, the challenges Hamilton's facing according to the
Sure.
source, and what Ferrari management is actually saying.
Absolutely, because the big question kind of hanging over it all, which the article brings up, is everything okay? Between the driver and his future team, even now.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so the article, it really paints a picture of Monaco. Starts right there.
Yeah.
With Hamilton's Ferrari SF25 looking pretty beat up, parked near the Plus 2 Casino. This was after a crash in FP3.
Oh, right, yeah. Not the best start to the weekend.
Yep.
So the race itself, he finished fifth.
Which, on paper for Monaco, maybe doesn't sound disastrous.
But context is everything, isn't it? The article points out he was a minute behind Leclerc at the flag.
Yeah.
A whole minute.
Wow, yeah. And it quotes Hamilton himself, describing the race like, "It's a decent place, but I felt in the middle of nowhere."
Hmm.
And he also said, "Didn't compete with anyone, only got 2 cars ahead." Doesn't exactly sound thrilled, does it?
No, not like someone feeling they got the maximum out of it.
And then there's the moment, the radio message. This is what the article really digs into. Happened during the race, in the tunnel.
Ah, yes, talking to his engineer, Ricardo Adami.
Exactly. And this is the bit that apparently went viral. The article says the engineer didn't reply straight away.
Right, and then Hamilton comes back with, what was the exact quote?
According to the blog, "Estáis enfadados conmigo."
Which means, are you angry with me?
Yeah. I mean, hearing that from a 7-time champ mid-race, that's something.
It really makes you pause. So naturally, Fred Vasseur, the team boss, had to respond.
Yep. And the blog covers his explanation. He apparently said it was not a reason for tension,
Okay.
and that he'd spoken to Lewis, who, wasn't upset about it afterwards.
Did he give a reason for the silence, though, the initial non-reply?
He did, a technical one apparently, said that in the tunnel, basically between turns 1 and 3, they plan not to talk.
Ah, okay. To avoid distraction in the corners.
That's the idea. Wait until they're actually in the tunnel, so it wasn't a snub, more procedure.
Right, right. Makes sense in theory.
And Vasseur sounded pretty, accepting of drivers asking questions under that kind of pressure. He's quoted saying something like, "He's between the walls, under pressure, struggling, goes at 300 kilometers between walls, and I accept that perfectly."
So acknowledging the intensity of Monaco.
Exactly, and he doubled down saying, "No hay tension, no tension with Hamilton." That's the official line.
Okay, so that's the Monaco incident specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But the blog also looks whiter, doesn't it, at the season so far, comparing Hamilton and Leclerc?
It does, and the numbers highlighted in this analysis, pretty stark, actually.
Also.
Well, up to that point, Leclerc had apparently finished ahead in 5 out of the 6 races. And maybe more telling, it was 7-1 to Leclerc in qualifying.
Oof. Yeah, that qualifying stat is significant.
It is, though the article does make sure to mention the exceptions, like Hamilton's sprint performances.
Ah, yeah, the win in China, podium in Miami.
Right. Often in slightly weird conditions, but still strong results there.
So what's the blog's take on all that? What does it suggest?
Well, the perspective seems to be that Hamilton is still, adapting, still getting fully comfortable with this year's Mercedes in all conditions.
An adaptation period.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But, and this is a key point the article makes,
Hmm?
for a driver like him and a team like Ferrari waiting in the wings, that adaptation period cannot be eternal.
Implying there's a clock ticking, pressure to get fully up to speed.
Sort of, yeah. Especially when, as the article also notes, Leclerc seems able to find that another step in the car.
Because he knows it inside out. The little quirks. Exactly. The article uses the phrase filius e phobius, the car's specific likes and dislikes. Leclerc's been there years. He gets it. That takes time to learn.
Which puts Hamilton's challenge, even within Mercedes this year, into context. It's not just about raw pace.
And that Monaco radio thing wasn't an isolated incident, according to this blog post. It mentions other moments suggesting friction or communication issues.
Oh, really? Like what?
There's talk of a crisis in Miami, supposedly over team orders that didn't sit well with either driver.
Okay, team orders are always tricky.
And also, back in Monaco, the qualifying incident, remember Hamilton got that grid penalty?
For blocking Verstappen, yeah.
The article links that back to a misunderstood instruction from his engineer, another communication snag.
And didn't it mention another radio complaint during the actual Monaco race, too?
It did. Apparently, Hamilton complained about the data his engineer was giving him, saying it wasn't what he'd asked for.
Okay, so it's painting a picture of quite a few little communication breakdowns under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just one thing. It seems to suggest a pattern of things maybe not running quite as smoothly as they could be, communication-wise.
And then there's the team's overall view, VASSEUR'S take on Ferrari's season so far. The article included that, too.
And he was pretty blunt, actually. Refreshingly honest, maybe.
What did he say?
He's quoted saying, "I believe we didn't have a very good first part of the season. We have underperformed expectations. That is evident, and we have to be honest with ourselves."
Wow. Okay. That's quite an admission from the boss. Underperformed expectations.
Yeah. And he linked it back to Monaco, saying they went in with low expectations because of slow corner issues.
Right.
But then practice looked good, raised hopes, and then missing pole to Norris, even though P2 was decent, felt like a letdown.
So expectations shifting quickly, adding to the internal pressure.
Seems like it. You get a sniff of pole, and suddenly P2 isn't quite enough.
So thinking about all this for you, the listener, it's a really complex picture this blog paints, isn't it?
Totally. You've got this legendary driver, 7 titles, joining the most historic team. But first, he's navigating this tricky final season with Mercedes.
Dealing with adaptation, being compared constantly to a very strong teammate.
Communication issues popping up under intense pressure.
And all this while, the team itself, Ferrari, admits they aren't hitting their own targets yet.
Yeah. And the details the article pulls out, like that specific radio question, VASSEUR'S careful explanation, the stats, the talk about car quirks, it gives you a real peek behind the curtain.
It shows it's so much more than just the driver and the car, right? It's the human element, the technical details, the immense pressure.
All mixed together. It's fascinating.
So just to quickly recap what we've pulled from this article. Hamilton's tough Monaco, that radio message asking if the team was angry.
Ferrari's official denial of any tension, VASSEUR'S technical explanation.
The season stats showing the gap to Leclerc, at least up to that point.
Other reported communication issues, and the wider context of adaptation challenges, plus the team acknowledging they've underperformed their own goals.
Yeah, this blog piece really highlights the kind of challenges even the very best face in a new situation, or even just a tough patch within the same team structure.
Absolutely. And it leads to a final thought, maybe. Given Vasseur admits Ferrari are underperforming their own expectations, and the article describes Hamilton as still being in this adaptation phase, even with Mercedes, what does this whole deep dive suggest about how long it really takes?
You mean for a driver and team, especially a new combination like Hamilton and Ferrari will be, to truly click, to reach peak performance together?
Exactly. Especially under the insane public spotlight of F1, maybe the timeline is longer or more complex than we sometimes assume from the outside?
That's a really interesting point. Definitely something to keep in mind and watch for as this season and the next unfolds. Plenty to ponder there.